Hey homeschoolers, I'm Melissa Webb, former full-time classroom teacher and homeschool mom turned full-time business CEO and encourager to homeschool families everywhere. I want to give you sound, educational, practical tips and advice at the same time making sure that you're enjoying the family journey that you are on. So if you are looking for a place to be encouraged and inspired, you have found the perfect podcast. Homeschooling is a work of heart is truly the perfect place to start. So welcome. Let's jump in. Well, hello homeschoolers. How are you? Fantastic, I hope. I am doing great. In fact, this morning I woke up singing a song and I had no idea what got it started in my head in the first place. I was humming along and singing a song that I don't feel like I've heard for a long time. Does that ever happen to you? Do you get songs stuck in your head and at these random moments they just pop up? My mom sings beautifully. She majored in voice and music in college, but let me assure you, her gift skipped a generation. It landed nowhere near me. I promise not to sing to you. But all of this got me thinking this morning because I can remember times when my mom and I would be driving and she would recite poems that she learned early on in her life. And to this day, and she's in her 80s now, she can still recall these things that she was required to memorize. It used to be a thing. Memorization was part of the curriculum. And I'm not sure that it is so much anymore, but I think it should be. Had I never memorized that song that was stuck in my head today, even though I wasn't even intentionally memorizing it, but if I hadn't memorized other things, really important things, I know I would not be utilizing my brain to its fullest potential. Memorization is a good thing. We were actually born to memorize. Do you believe that? I believe that. And I'm curious, what were some of the first things you memorized? Because you've certainly memorized all kinds of things. But what were some of the first things you memorized? What comes to mind for you? Do you remember practicing? And at the time, back when I was younger, we didn't use the word memorize as much. It was things like, I know my multiplication facts by heart. It was all about knowing it by heart, like it was a part of me. And so I'm just curious, what were some of the first things you memorized? What did you have to learn by heart? What comes to mind for you? Well, starting at the very beginning of life, the very first thing that anyone memorizes is their mother's face or voice, or their father's face or voice. And then they start to memorize words, ball, bye-bye, mama, dada, and other family members' names. They'll start to memorize their sister's name or their brother's name, grandma's name, papa's name, maybe Fido's name. They will even catch on to tunes from nursery rhymes, maybe even something from a favorite cartoon or show. And then it just progresses as we grow older. And here's the thing. This isn't just me. This is science. Science says that memorization is a natural human ability that we do instinctively, right? So from babies who instinctively memorize faces and then sounds and then words and then patterns, all of that memorization is strengthening cognitive development. And research shows that memorization enhances brain plasticity. It improves problem solving. It increases creativity, all the good things that our brain should be doing. It also helps build our language and communication skills because when we expose children to rich vocabulary, to structured language patterns, So be thinking things like we memorize poetry or music or a Bible verse or a famous quote or the Pledge of Allegiance. These things foster better verbal expression, written expression. It adds to our knowledge base. It makes us smarter. Memorization internalizes knowledge within us, and that does make us wiser. I mean, who does not feel pretty darn smart when she can recite something from memory? Nobody ever is like embarrassed to say, "Oh, I've memorized that." I mean, okay, this is what's coming to mind. My bologna has a first name, it's OSCAR. My bologna has a second name, it's MEYER. Oh, I love to eat it every day. And if you ask me why, I'll say, 'cause Oscar Mayer has a way with BOLOGNA. I know, I promised you I wouldn't sing, but that little jingle, maybe not the best example, but I learned that jingle decades ago. I even learned how to spell baloney with that little jingle, and it's still stuck in my memory today. Now I know we could argue, yeah, is it really making you wiser? Well, it is showing me that my brain is still good at recalling information. Here's the thing. Our brains are going to memorize. They are. It's just what they do. So don't we want to be really intentional and help our children memorize good things, things that matter? Otherwise, who knows what their brain is going to hold on to? But just some of the lyrics of some of the songs that my grown kids listen to, I am flabbergasted. I'm like, don't waste any of your time remembering that. Now, I will also tell you that there are educators out there who totally disagree with me. And that's okay. We can still be friends. If you're one of those, or if you're right now thinking, waste of time, Melissa, memorization is a waste of time, you would not be alone. John Dewey, who at the turn of the 20th century was reforming education in America, had many theories on education and learning. And no, by the way, he is not the same one who invented the Dewey Decimal System. These get confused all the time. Different guy. I think he was a psychologist as well. Anyway, he believed that education should be child-led, like that unschooling approach is child-led, prioritizing exploration in your day, allowing for hands-on experiences, and not to waste time memorizing. He actually argued that those teachers and homeschooling parents at the time who were focusing so much time on memorization were creating in children this surface level learning rather than a deeper understanding, a deeper comprehension of the world around them. And he believed that much of the memorization that was happening, now keep in mind, this is the early 1900s, he called them vain metrics. It was kind of showy. It seemed boastful if you could memorize all the verses or all of the New Testament, maybe during the time. He felt that that dismissed the importance of critical thinking and creativity. Fair, right? I get that. I hear him. And today, people all the time will say things like, I don't see why we should bother memorizing our states and capitals. Or we don't practice spelling. Why does it really matter anymore? Or my kids don't need to know their multiplication facts. That's a thing that's an old way of learning. Because now what do we have? We have technology. It's right at our fingertips. So we don't need to learn those things. We don't need to know them by heart anymore. But I think they're missing the boat. It's really about engaging the brain, because in our brain, there is a place where the only way you activate it is through the practice of memorization. And if we want to develop our brains and our children's brains to their full potentials, we must memorize and practice memorization. This is my opinion here, but John Dewey was wanting to throw the baby out with the bathwater. Where's the balance? Balance is key. A little memorization with intention, practice regularly every day, maybe a few times every day, at least a few times every week, is time well spent. The truth is that memorization has a place in our everyday lives, and therefore it should be tied to our educational practices too. There are things we memorize. You know the way to the store. You don't have to get on your map every day to remember, how do I get to the grocery store? You've memorized it. It's using our brain. So it is important. And here's a fun fact for you. Studies from Stanford Medicine show that early memory exercises in children contribute to the development of the hippocampus. That's a region of the brain that is essential for memory formation and later retrieval. We start them young, we build that strong, and that muscle remains strong. That development is going to lead to improved memory performance as our children grow older. Basically, the more you memorize, the more you'll remember. And there's more. Wait, there's more. I actually think this is not only important, but encouraging. Did you know that individuals with dementia often retain memories of information learned long ago? This can include details that they memorized in their youth, poems, and songs. They may have forgotten the names of family members. They may have no clue where they are, but they retain those younger memories. What a gift. Music therapy works wonders with these folks because the songs that they hear today take them back to long ago, and they'll start singing along to old hymns and old songs because that part of their brain that was developed in their youth still remains. Isn't that powerful? Early life memories are so deeply ingrained. That's often due to emotional significance, memories shared with other people that mattered to us. And the time that the brain has now been able to spend and process and store all of that great information makes those early memories more resilient to the effects of dementia or any kind of cognitive decline. So you get to decide what to believe. I wanted to spend some time really making my point. And I hope I've built a strong enough case for you to consider putting memorization practices into your daily routine. It's easy. I have 3 very practical strategies that are going to get you going. I even have a freebie that you can link to. It's a checklist of things that you can check off if your child has already memorized. But as your kids get older, it has several ideas. I want to say there's like maybe 20, but you could make your own list. And that's the first thing that I would recommend. Make a list. What should be memorized? You can base this on your child's age, your child's grade level, or what's important to you, or what interests your child. Right? If you have a child who's a baseball lover, you could memorize all of the team names if that's something that interests your kiddos. So again, keep all of those things in mind. But I do have a checklist, and it has things from safety issues. Make sure that your child has memorized his or her first, middle, and last name. Make sure your child knows your full name, especially if your last names are different. What else is on that list? The home address, including city and state. A phone number, at least one phone number. Are there any allergies or medical conditions? Like these are safety things, stranger danger rules. Your child's birthday, that should be memorized. There's other things on there from the alphabet to days of the week and months of the year. Other things like common sight words, basic addition facts. This checklist is yours if you want it. It has dates and capitals on it. What else do I have? Continents, oceans, major world countries. So there's a whole list. Like I said, there's like 20. Feel free to use those, but on the second page, it's blank. Well, it's blank just where you can put something next to the check boxes and then print that out. Maybe put it on your kitchen refrigerator or in your schoolroom and just slowly, daily, in fun ways, start to practice. Now, that's the second strategy that I want to point out. So number one, make your list. I have a list for you, but you could always make your own list. The second thing I want you to do to really start this memorization practice at home is to do more than recite or chant these things. Instead, incorporate movement. Use multisensory learning. So, for example, if you have younger children, hand motions work, clapping works, jumping. Did you know that jumping while reciting? So think about maybe you're memorizing some spelling words. If you do a multisensory task like jumping, great for your ADD or ADHD kiddos. A fun was to even go outside and use some sidewalk chalk and create a hopscotch and put letters for whatever word they're working on, and they jump into each letter as they say it. All of these engaging activities that use multiple senses, that's always going to enhance retention. If you have older children, they could do tapping activities. They could create a song or a rhyme. Make a way that incorporates more than just reciting. Also, start small and then always, like one of the things I remember learning from Andrew Pudewa, who created IEW. Oh, that man is genius. I love that guy. And he's a big fan of memorization, by the way. He has some great programs you could check out. He does a whole linguistic development on the memorization of poetry. It's a whole system. He uses the Suzuki method in a lot of that, where you are always practicing. 2/3 of what you're practicing is embedding what you already know. It's very repetitive and you do it over and over and over. And then 1/3 is bring in something new to add to that list. Check out his stuff. He's got some really good things. You also could come up with mnemonic devices, right? So that's when you have an acronym like HOMES. Did you use the acronym HOMES to learn the Great Lakes, the 5 Great Lakes of North America? H, Lake Huron. O, Lake Ontario. M, Lake Michigan. E, Lake Erie. S, Lake Superior. So mnemonic devices work as well. Get creative in how you're going to practice. Okay, so number one, make a list of what you're going to practice. Number two, get creative in how you're going to practice. And the third suggestion I have for you is to make it fun. It should feel like a family game. You should be rewarding progress. Integrate it naturally, not in a way that it feels tedious or cumbersome, but instead it's light and it's fun and it's something your kids look forward to. And maybe they get a certificate once they've completed something. I don't know, something fun. Always keep it fun. Just remember, it's going to take practice. Isn't that true with all things? Memorization is no different. It takes practice, but it is time well spent, and it's something that our brains were built to do. So let's do it. Okay? Are you on board? Let's go. Now, if I could only remember where I put my sunglasses. Hey, have a great week, everyone. Right on. Well, thanks so much for tuning in and listening this week. Hey, if this was something that you found valuable, don't forget you want to subscribe or follow so that every time a new episode is dropped, you'll be the first to know. And hey, before you go, if you are looking to get some of this academic writing under your belt and outsourced so that it's one less thing, freeing you up to enjoy more time with your family, hey, you're going to want to head over to writeonweb.com to see what kinds of resources and materials I have available for you. I will look forward to seeing you there, and I will look forward to seeing you here in our next episode. Right on.